Let's start with Dangerous. It is the first game developed by Core Design, the creators of Tomb Raider. It was published by Fiverr in 1989 for 8 and 16-bit computers. It is inspired by Indiana Jones. It is a parody version of the hero with the hat and the whip. At the beginning of the game, as you have seen, Rick must flee from a giant rolling stone, like in Riders of the Lost Ark. Its graphic style, with its big head character, was inspired by Joe Blade for Spectrum. The game for 8 bits has 85 screens, and for 16 bits it has 50 more. Now let's go with Sai Combat, a little known game but one that I loved back in the day. Released in 1986 by Microsoft for the ZX Spectrum and Amstrad CPC. The Microsoft company was a software division of the Mirror Group. They first brought Tetris to the West. In this game, the fighters fight with sais, wooden sticks to practice katana combat. It has a mode for 1 and a mode for 2 players, and recommend both of them. Animations are spectacular, and the characters are huge. I love it, I really love it, and I know that a few people knew this game. Let's talk now about 1942. It was published by Elite in 1986. It is a conversion of Capcom's arcade machine. This game began a saga of shoot'em-ups set in the combats of the Pacific Ocean in the Second World War. Curiously, in the game we drive an American fighter against the Japanese enemies. Capcom is a Japanese company, so it was very curious for me. In addition to shooting, we can collect power-ups and make spectacular loops to avoid enemy shoots. The game has 32 phases. Although they seem somewhat repetitive to me, I am very fond of this game. I remember playing it at a friend's house when I was a child with my Atari joystick on his Amstrad CPC 6128. It has been a wonderful experience for me to play it again, to record the gameplay for this video. Oh, Mom is definitely my most personal pick on the list. It was published by Ubisoft in 1984 and they gave it away with the computer. It's one of my wife's favorite games, so we replay it frequently. The game is a kind of Pac-Man in which you have to circle the squares to discover where the key is to move to the next phase. I know, it is a very basic game that barely exploits the capabilities of the machine, but this list is about my favorite games and I need to put it. Do you like it as much as I do? Rainbow Islands is a conversion of a 1987 Taito arcade machine. It is a continuation of the legendary Bubble Bobble. It was converted by Ocean to Amstrad CPC and published in 1990. There are 7 islands in the game. Each one is a phase with a different theme. The music is very inspired by the soundtrack of The Wizard of Oz. In later versions, Taito had to change the melody. It is a very colorful game and very fun. It's one of my favorite conversions from Ocean and I enjoy it even today playing it. It's true that it's worse than the original version from the arcade, but well, do you know how nostalgia works? Let's talk now about Target Renegade. It is the continuation of the original Renegade, but this sequel was only developed for home computers. It was published by Ocean in 1988. It has a mode for 1 and 2 players. I recommend especially play this game with a friend because you will enjoy it more. In the first part, you use 3 buttons. In this one, you use only one because the joystick of the time for Amstrad CPC had only one button. It's more easy to control your player, but you lose possibilities that you have in the previous one. The game has 5 levels. In these levels, you move through screens. There is no scrolling. As you know, in Amstrad CPC in mode 0, it was very complicated to achieve a good scroll. As a novelty, you can collect and use enemy weapons. Trantor is undoubtedly one of the most visually spectacular video games available for Amstrad CPC. It was developed by Probe Software and published in 1987 by US Gold. Its development team includes programmer David Perry, the main creator of titles such as Disney's Aladdin, Cool Spot, and Airwolf Jim for Sega Mega Drive. His main character is gigantic, in the style of Savage, and other later titles from the same team, with incredible smooth scrolling and even more so in Amstrad CPC. The visual presentation is also spectacular. By the way, the name of the game is the same as that for the capital planet in Isaac Asimov's Foundation genre. Lastly, comment that when you finish the game they announced a Trantor 2 but never came out. Exolon is another of my favorite games for Amstrad CPC. It was published by Houston Consultants in 1987. It was developed by Raffaele Cecco, author of other titles such as Cybernoid, Stormlord or First Samurai. The game consists of overcoming a series of screens held by a space gun and a series of portable missiles. Ammunition is limited. When you put on the exosuit, that's where the name of the game comes from, you are invulnerable to some attacks and you have double shots. There is no scrolling in this game, but each of the screens is so colorful and detailed that this is not missed. Sometimes, when there are many enemies of the screen, some slowdowns occur. It's a great game, I recommend it to you. Bomb Jack was a huge hit in its day. It is a conversion of the Tekken arcade game launched in 1984. It was published by Reed in 1986 for Amstrad CPC. The game consists of collecting all the bombs on the screen. If you collect them in the proper order, first the red bomb, you will have a gun. It was a great success at the time. I remember that the children who had a computer talked about it in the school. The backgrounds for each phase are based on different locations of the world. These end up repeating themselves as you move between screens, but the structures change. Bomb Jack is a great game that continues to be very fun even today. Batman is an isometric adventure based on a DC Comics character. The game was published by Ocean Software in 1986. The title was developed by John Ridman, programmer, and Bernie Dudmon, graphic artist. When you start the game, you have to first collect the Bat tools to regain Batman's powers. Next, you will have to look for the 7 parts that make up the Batmobile. It is an isometric perspective game that imitates the style created by the Ultimate Play the Game with Night Lord. Visually it's impressive. It is also challenging and a fun title. Very recommendable today. The Way of the Exploding Fist, also known simply as Fist, is a karate game published by Melbourne House in 1985. It is inspired by Karate Champ, an arcade machine created by Data East. The game has incredible animation for each of its 19 moves. It is very easy to start playing it, but mastering it will take you hours. In its combat system, it's very important to know how to block the enemy's attacks. In single player mode, you must reach 10 dan, but the spectacular two-player mode is without doubt the best part of the game. Although it's not close in quality to any modern fighting title, it is still very fun to have a few fights with it. Let's talk now about the Abbey of Crime. This game was created in Spain by Paco Menéndez and Juan del Can. It was published by Operasoft in Spain in 1987. In Spain, I mean Spanish, it was very successful and is considered a masterpiece of Spanish software. The entire plot and mechanics of the title are inspired by the novel The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. The game is an adventure that consists of discovering the mystery of the murders or some monks while respecting the routines and activities of the abbey. The life that the monastery exudes is incredible, as well as isometric graphics, a masterpiece. Criticize the excessive difficulty at the beginning when you have to follow the abbot to yourself. Visually impressive, but too much difficult to my taste, but it's one of my favorites. Operation Wolf is a shooting video game that took arcades by storm. It was released in 1987 by Type. Ocean Software was responsible for the conversion for Amstrad CPC, published in 1988. The game is inspired by the movies of Rambo, a hero armed to the teeth who rescues prisoners and kills all his enemies. The Amstrad version has spectacular graphics with incredible color. The scrolling is also perfect, the best that I have seen in Amstrad CPC. The side movement is also incredible. Throughout its 6 phases, we will have to rescue 5 prisoners. We will have to reload our ammunition and collect grenades to be able to defend ourselves. A great fun game to this day. Ocean really disappointed. Chase HQ is an excellent car driving game. It is inspired by the TV series Miami Vice. It is a conversion of a Taito arcade machine released on 1988. It was converted by Ocean for Amstrad CPC and published in 1989. The 5 phases are structured into one part of searching for the criminal and another one of hitting him to stop him. You have 3 turbos to accelerate. In all phases there is a deviation to shortcut the path. Scroll and speed sensation are spectacular. For me, it's the best driving game for Amstrad CPC. Everyone knows the video game Prince of Persia. It was originally created by Jordan Metzner for the Apple II in 1989. As you all know, it is known for its spectacular animations using rotoscoping. The Amstrad CPC version was released in 1990. It was oriented towards the French market. It has incredible quality despite the limitations of an 8-bit machine, and well, as you all know, this game was the first of a long-running franchise over the time. I'm sure that you have played this game already or one of its sequels in many platforms. Renegade had a brutal impact on 8-bit computers in its day. It is a conversion of a Taito arcade game called Neketsuko Hakunyo-kun. Imagine was in terms of the conversion for the home computers that were successful in Europe, including the Amstrad CPC. He did it in 1987. I really like the version for Amstrad since it respects the 3 buttons of the original version. The game's cover, created by Bob Weckling, is one of my favorites. This author was the creator of most of the covers for the Ocean and Imagine games. The game works on the screens. There is no scrolling. The graphics use mode 0 and are very colorful. Very fun to play, a beaten up from the 80s, difficult but with personality. Fernando Martin Basketmaster is my favorite sports game for Amstrad CPC. It is a one-to-one basketball game developed by Dynamic and published in 1987. The image of one of the players is that of Fernando Martin, who died many years ago due to a traffic accident. Outside of Spain, the game was simply called Basketmaster. Its creators tried to get another great Spanish basketball player of the time, Epi, to also give up his image, but they couldn't achieve it. Its development had its tense moments since Dynamic replaced the original programmer, Gonzalo Martinero, with the game very advanced as they were not convinced by his work. The game is very fun. It allows you to dribble the ball in any position and perform dunks in the basket. It has a spectacular repeat mode that repeats with fun the dunks made during the match. At the time, it was simply incredible. Barbarian, the Ultimate Warrior, is for me the best fighting game for Amstrad CPC. It was published by Palace Software in 1987. It was the first fighting game since they were previously known for the Cauldron Saga and the Sacred Armor of Rantiria. The game is inspired by the Conan movies, especially a sword fight in Conan the Destroyer. It has 2 loads, one to play 2 players and the other to play story mode. At the time it had a controversial cover starring Maria Whittaker and Michael Van Berg because they considered that they showed too much flesh. In the 80s, video games were considered entertainment for children. It is also remembered for its head chop blow. I still remember when I executed it for the first time. It was spectacular. It also gave you the possibility of overcoming the fight at any time. It was called Death Sword in the United States. Ikari Warriors is a fun-to-player action game. It is a conversion of an SNK arcade machine. This conversion was developed by Elite, who published it in 1987. It came first to Amstrad CPC a few months before than the rest of the 8-bit computers. You can play alone or in the company of a friend. It is really a game designed to be played by 2 players. It has pretty good graphics and a vertical scroll that moves perfectly. The music is by David Whittaker. The opening theme is really memorable. As typical in the 80s, it's another game inspired by the Rambo movies. Head Over Heels is the best isometric adventure for 8-bit computers. The version created for Amstrad is undoubtedly almost perfect. The game uses the same graphics engine as Batman, but with improvements. It was developed by the same team, John Ridman and Bernie Tatman. It was published by Ocean in 1987. In this game you play with 2 characters with different abilities, jumping at speed, and you can exchange control to solve puzzles. When you unite the 2, they both unite their powers. You can also control robots by remote control, specifically a robot with very big ears inspired by the then Prince Charles, now the king. It is, without a doubt, the crowning work of the genre, and to this day it remains an essential part of the history of video games. My favorite game, with any doubt.